the arch will take him out of balance. In a fight, we do not need to grab his belt. In fact, what we're going to do, we're going to insert the hand to the lower part of his back. This is the lower part of his back, which I'm going to basically not just place my hand, but hit inside. This kind of hit while I'm pushing the nose. So let's look at that. In addition to the pushing, pulling motion, the counter force that we do, right hand pushing the nose, left hand pulling the lower back, I'm shuffling. My legs that move to here, going to shuffle one step forward. So let's look at the entire move, the entire body from this position. As you've gone down, from here I have a variety of ways to finish. I can go and punch to the neck, or I can actually kick the side of the head. The best is to kick because you don't want to break any finger or any little bone in your hand. The best is to strike, kick over there, and leave the same.
Let's go over some key points now for the punch defense. Stepping to the side, redirecting the hand to the outside of the face. At the same time, the opposite hand is coming up in a wave motion, pressure on the nose, taking the attacker out of balance backwards. As you strike the nose, put pressure on the lower back and move behind the attacker, finishing with the kick to the head.
What we just have seen is called a jousting strike, which is exactly a way for us not just to defend ourselves, but to attack at the same time. As we attack, we're going with a jousting strike to the nose. From here we have another option, which is switching hands. The hand that just hit the nose is going to move to the elbow, while the left hand moving to his nose. So it's 1 and 2. There is one hit from here and one hit from here, right after. The reason to do that is as he broke his balance backwards, we want to maintain that and keep him there so he's not coming back by doing that. And from here to take him down, I'm going to make a step with the leg that's behind him, which is my left leg. I'm going to turn. As you see, the jousting strike creating a situation that is out of balance. We want to keep him out of balance. Then the right hand that was completely stretched going to replace with the left hand. This is moving to the elbow while the left hand going to the nose. So there's a strike with the right, strike with the left, and pivoting. Look at my left foot, the one behind him now, going to do a semicircle, which take him down, which help us to finish. Let's see it one more time in slow motion. Strike to the nose while we're pivoting, and finish.
Another option, after you attack the nose now, change the hands gripping the arm, attacking the nose with the opposite hand. And from here, pivot in semicircle, taking the, in this case, left leg backwards. Stepping back and taking the attacker down. From here, finishing with strikes to the face.
It's a pleasure for me to introduce my top student in Canada, Joel Gerson, who is with me for the last 17 years. He's going to demonstrate the break force. We're going to show you in two different ways. One is the one we're going to perform in the dojo, in the training area, and the other option to do it in the street. Joel.
Okay, thanks, Wayne. What we're going to cover now are the break falls. And we have hard falls and soft falls. We're going to cover the hard falls in the dojo because this is really what they're meant for. The soft falls is what we're trying to do outside. The first direction we're going to cover is the backwards hard break form. So let's see what it looks like. So let's break down the hard backwards break on stages. That'll make it easier to learn.
The first stage is very simple from sitting position. The most important things now are to keep my back as round as possible and to make sure that my head never ever touches the ground. So what's going to happen is as I go back, my legs are going to come up like a teeter-totter. Body goes back, feet come off the ground, and the hands are going to hit 45 degrees, making sure that my chin will be tucked into my chest. At the same time, I also have to keep in mind that I want to exhale as my hands are hitting. I don't want any air in my lungs when I hit the ground. Again. Okay, let's see it from another angle. Common mistakes from here are tendencies that we pick up as kids, which we can get away with when we weigh 40 pounds, but as adults at 150, 200 pounds, if you do it for real, you're going to do a lot of damage. You have to make sure that when you go back, a lot of us will have a tendency to come back on the elbows or come back on the straight arm. In both cases, you're going to hurt yourself. You have to make sure and fight the tendency and keep the arms straight from the front and bring them down powerfully. Also making sure that they don't stay glued to the ground. So this will be wrong. I need the energy to move through, so I'm letting it bounce up from here. It's a big difference. Once you've got comfortable doing it from sitting position and your chin is forward and your arms are straight and everything is clean, the next stage is do it from squatting position. So I'm sitting on both feet in good balance, and from here, it's very important to keep the chin forward and stay as round as possible. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to roll back and hit, making sure that my head still doesn't touch the ground and my feet are coming straight up. A common mistake from this position is to do it in a stage, and what I mean by that is often people from here will sit first and then move back. You're losing everything. You really have to try and stay as round as possible, keep the chin forward from here, and don't forget to exhale, nice and round. From here. Once you're comfortable with that stage, the next part is to do it from standing. But in standing, you have to make sure that there's still another stage. What I'm going to do first is drop to the squatting position and then go back. First, break it down into two stages. Once you get comfortable from this part, then you can do it in one motion. Go straight back. But you have to make sure in all events not to fall like a tree, straight back and flat on your back from here. It's always done in a very gradual stage in terms of dropping and going back. Let's go over some key points for the backwards fall. Make sure to keep your back round as you go back, the feet come off the ground, as your hands hit 45 degrees from the body. Make sure your head doesn't touch, keep the chin tucked into the body. Drop first, go back, arms are straight, and come up. It's often said in combat survival that when a student first comes to the club, they're almost like a cube. And in the beginning, what you need to do is lock the corners off and try to cut the angles and try and make them as much as possible like a perfect sphere. Whenever we work, we try and be as round as possible and as smooth as possible. Everything is nice and round and smooth. So when you go forward, the soft backwards break fall, it's very important to learn it in stages, and that's where we start from sitting position. Again, just like the hard backwards break fall. But here, we're trying to make everything as soft as possible, almost like a cat. All the movements now are very smooth. Pay attention to the angle of the arm and the direction of the legs. And also notice, obviously, the head is never ever touching the ground. Let's see it a few times. And from a few angles. I have to pay very close attention at this point to the angle of the legs and the arm and especially the head. If I'm doing the right side, I'm looking over my right shoulder. At the same time, my right arm is going to be straight out 90 degrees to the body. So from here, I'm coming this way. My legs are going to come over my shoulder. Here. Pay attention, the legs don't come in a circle to the side. This is another common mistake from here. People have a tendency to roll this way. It's not this way, and it's not directly back. The head should never touch. It's 45 degrees over the shoulder. Notice when I finish, I end up on one leg. This is for practicing purposes, but it's a good habit to have. One leg up, one leg down gives you a lot more mobility. From here to here. Notice I'm also on my toes. Let's emphasize one more time the direction of the head, making sure the head is never touching the ground. If I'm doing the right side,